My boyfriend said, "I'm going through so much right now, I need you to be supportive." But when I documented his mental health crises and discovered they perfectly coincided with bill due dates and chore schedules, I told him I absolutely understand what he's going through. Subscribe to the channel and like the video to see more stories like this 28 years old. That number represents independence, career success, and the wisdom to spot red flags I used to ignore. My name is Sarah, and for the past 4 years, I've been working as a marketing coordinator at a tech startup in Austin, Texas. My apartment downtown has always been my sanctuary, a symbol of everything I built with my own determination and late nights studying for my degree. I met Jake 2 years ago at a coffee shop near my office. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in my career ambitions. At 31, he worked freelance graphic design jobs and had this laid-back vibe that I found attractive after dating overly ambitious corporate types. Jake had these piercing blue eyes and a way of making me feel like I was the most important person in the room when he focused his attention on me. The first few months were incredible. He'd bring me flowers, cook dinner for me after my long workdays, and listen intently when I talked about my projects. "You're so driven, Sarah," he'd say, running his fingers through my hair. "I love watching you conquer the world." Those words made my heart flutter every single time. 6 months into our relationship, Jake started staying over more frequently. My neat, organized space slowly began accumulating his belongings, a gaming console here, clothes scattered there, art supplies taking over my dining table. "Just temporary," he'd assure me with that disarming smile, "until I find a better studio apartment." That's when I first noticed something odd. Jake seemed to have an uncanny ability to fall into what he called depressive episodes at the most inconvenient times. The first incident happened on a Saturday morning when I'd planned for us to deep clean my apartment together. I'd spent the previous evening organizing supplies, making a schedule, even buying his favorite energy drinks to make it fun. "Sarah, I'm really struggling today," he said, lying in bed with his arm draped dramatically over his eyes. "I can feel one of my dark periods coming on. I just can't handle physical activities right now. My mental health has to come first, you know?" My heart immediately went out to him. I'd always been supportive of mental health awareness, having dealt with my own anxiety during college. "Of course, baby," I replied, sitting on the edge of the bed and stroking his forehead. "We can clean another day. Do you want to talk about what's triggering this?" He shook his head weakly. "I just need you to understand that sometimes I go through these phases. I need your support, not judgment." So I spent that Saturday taking care of him instead. I made his favorite breakfast, dimmed the lights, put on his preferred Netflix shows, and handled all the cleaning myself while he recovered on the couch. By Sunday evening, he was miraculously feeling better, and even suggested we go out to dinner at an expensive steakhouse. The second incident occurred 3 weeks later. I'd mentioned earlier that week about splitting the utility bills since he was essentially living at my place full-time. The conversation had gone well, or so I thought. We'd agreed he'd cover the internet and electricity while I handled rent and groceries. Tuesday evening, the day before the bills were due, Jake came home looking absolutely devastated. "I'm having another episode, Sarah," he announced, collapsing onto my couch. "Work has been so stressful, and I feel like everything is closing in on me. I can barely function right now." Again, my caring instincts kicked in. I immediately shelved any discussion about the bills and focused on comforting him. "What do you need from me?" I asked, genuinely concerned. "Just understanding. And maybe you could handle the practical stuff for a few days while I work through this? I promise I'll make it up to you when I'm feeling more stable." I ended up paying all the bills that month and several after, telling myself that supporting your partner through mental health struggles was what love looked like. Jake would always recover just in time for fun activities, concerts, dinner dates, weekend trips, but seemed to relapse whenever responsibilities arose. The pattern became more frequent over the following months. Dishes needed washing. Jake was having an anxiety attack. His turn to grocery shop. Suddenly he was too depressed to leave the apartment. Time to look for his own place since his temporary stay had stretched to 8 months. He'd have a complete breakdown about feeling abandoned and unloved. "I'm going through so much right now, Sarah," became his standard phrase. "I need you to be understanding and supportive." And I always responded the same way. "I'm here for you, whatever you need." But something started nagging at me. Call it intuition, call it experience. But I began noticing that Jake's mental health crises had an almost supernatural timing. They appeared like clockwork whenever there was work to be done, bills to pay, or uncomfortable conversations to be had. The breaking point came on a Thursday evening in October. I'd had an exhausting week at work, pulling 12-hour days to meet a crucial client deadline. All I wanted was to come home to a clean apartment and maybe order takeout together. Instead, I walked into chaos. Dishes piled in the sink, his art supplies covering every surface, trash overflowing, and Jake playing video games on my couch in his underwear. "Hey babe," he said without looking away from his screen. "Rough day today. I've been battling some really dark thoughts, so I couldn't handle any household stuff. Actually, I was thinking we could order from that expensive sushi place tonight. I think it would really help my mood." I stood there in my work clothes, briefcase in hand, looking around at the disaster that had become my own home. Something shifted inside me that night. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was clarity, but I decided I needed to start paying closer attention to these convenient mental health episodes. That's when I made a decision that would change everything between us. The next morning, I started what I now call Operation Documentation. I created a private notes app on my phone and began tracking Jake's mental health episodes with the same methodical approach I used for work projects: date, time, duration, circumstances, and most importantly, what responsibilities he was avoiding. I told myself I was being supportive by better understanding his patterns. Maybe if I could identify his triggers, I could help him more effectively. At least, that's what I convinced myself I was doing. The first entry was easy to remember. October 15th. Jake claims severe depression, can't clean apartment, coincides with planned deep cleaning day. Recovery time, 2 hours after I finished all chores. As I scrolled through my phone's calendar, marking down previous incidents, a disturbing pattern emerged. Every single episode aligned perfectly with either bill due dates, planned household tasks, job application deadlines he'd mentioned, or difficult conversations about our future. Jake's freelance work had become increasingly sporadic over the past year. What he called creative blocks, I was beginning to suspect were just convenient excuses. Meanwhile, my salary had been supporting both of us while he pursued passion projects that never seemed to generate income. "Sarah, you're so understanding," he'd say whenever I covered expenses. "Most girlfriends would be nagging me about money by now. This is why I love you." 3 days after I started documenting, Jake had another episode. This time, it was Sunday afternoon, and I'd suggested we visit my parents who lived an hour away. My mom had been asking to meet him for months, and I'd finally committed to bringing him for dinner. "I can't do it today, babe," Jake announced at 2 p.m., just as I was getting dressed. "I'm feeling really socially anxious right now. Meeting parents is such a big step, and my mind is spiraling about what they'll think of me. I think I need to stay home and work through these feelings." I looked at him sprawled on my couch in the same clothes he'd worn for 3 days, controller in hand, half-eaten pizza on the coffee table. "Jake, we've had this planned for 2 weeks. I already told them we're coming." "I know, and I feel terrible about it," he replied, not taking his eyes off the TV screen. "But you know how important mental health is. I can't fake being okay just to impress your parents. That wouldn't be authentic." I called my mom and made excuses while Jake ordered expensive Thai food on my credit card to comfort himself through his anxiety. The food arrived just as his episode miraculously lifted, and he spent the evening cheerfully gaming with his online friends. Entry number 4 in my notes. October 18th. Social anxiety prevents meeting my parents. Coincides with planned family dinner. Recovery time, 3 hours, immediately after food delivery arrived. By the end of October, my documentation revealed something that made my stomach turn. Jake had experienced exactly 14 mental health crises in the past 6 weeks. 14 episodes that perfectly aligned with 14 different responsibilities, commitments, or expectations. The most infuriating discovery was his pattern around my work schedule. Whenever I had early morning meetings or important presentations, Jake would have insomnia-induced anxiety attacks that required me to stay up late comforting him. When I had evening networking events that could advance my career, he'd develop separation anxiety and beg me not to leave him alone. "I'm going through so much right now," became his daily mantra. "I need you to be understanding and supportive." And every time I'd respond, "I'm here for you, whatever you need." But now I was starting to see what he really needed: a full-time caretaker and financial provider who would never question his convenient mental health struggles. The breaking point came on November 3rd. I'd been selected to present our quarterly marketing analysis to the company's board of directors. A huge opportunity that could lead to a promotion. I'd worked on this presentation for weeks, practicing every night after Jake went to bed. The morning of the presentation, I woke up to find Jake sitting on the bathroom floor, head in his hands, claiming he'd been awake all night having panic attacks about our relationship. "I keep thinking you're going to leave me for someone more successful," he sobbed dramatically. "I can't handle the thought of losing you, Sarah. I need you here with me today. Can't you reschedule your meeting?" I stared at him, this grown man sitting on my bathroom tiles in his boxers, tears streaming down his face at the exact moment I needed to be getting ready for the most important presentation of my career. "Jake, this isn't something I can reschedule. The entire board will be there." "But I'm having a mental health crisis," he exclaimed. "Doesn't that matter more than some corporate meeting? I thought you cared about my well-being." For the first time in our relationship, I didn't immediately rush to comfort him. Instead, I quietly finished getting ready while he continued his performance in the background. I noticed he kept glancing at me to gauge my reaction, adjusting the intensity of his sobs based on my responses. "I have to go," I said simply, grabbing my presentation materials. "You're really going to abandon me when I need you most?" he called after me. I paused at the door, looking back at him. "I'll be home by 6. We can talk then." My presentation went perfectly. The board was impressed, and my boss pulled me aside afterward to discuss a potential promotion. I should have been celebrating, but all I could think about was Jake's convenient timing. When I got home that evening, I found him completely recovered, cooking dinner and humming cheerfully to himself. "Hey babe, how did your thing go today?" he asked casually, as if he hadn't spent the morning having a breakdown about our relationship. "My thing?" I repeated slowly. slowly. You mean the presentation you tried to make me skip because you were having a panic attack? Oh, right, that. Yeah, I ended up feeling much better after you left. Sometimes I just need to work through these feelings on my own, you know. I nodded and went to my bedroom, where I opened my notes app and added entry number 23. As I typed, something crystallized in my mind. Jake wasn't struggling with mental health, he was weaponizing it, and I was about to prove it. That weekend, while Jake was at what he claimed was a therapy session but I suspected was actually drinks with his buddies, I decided to dig deeper. My marketing background had taught me the importance of data analysis, and I was about to apply those skills to my own relationship. I opened my laptop and created a detailed spreadsheet. Column A, date of episode. Column B, claimed mental health issue. Column C, responsibility he was avoiding. Column D, duration of episode. Column E, what ended the episode. Column F, his mood behavior immediately after recovery. As I input 3 months of data, the pattern became so obvious it was almost insulting. Jake had a 100% success rate in timing his mental health crises to avoid anything he didn't want to do. Not 95%, not 90%, 100%. But what made my blood boil was column F. Every single time, within hours of avoiding his responsibility, Jake would be in a fantastic mood, ready for fun activities, expensive meals, or intimacy. His severe depression would vanish the moment I took care of whatever he was avoiding. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Therapy was really intense today. Can you pick up some ice cream on your way home? Rocky Road helps with my emotional processing. Love you. I stared at the message, then at my spreadsheet. This man was treating me like a personal assistant with benefits, while claiming mental health exemptions from basic adult responsibilities. That's when I noticed something else. Jake had left his laptop open on my dining table, logged into his email. I wasn't normally the type to snoop, but something compelled me to glance at the screen. What I saw made me physically sick. There was an email thread with his friend Marcus from 2 weeks ago. The subject line read, "Living the dream. Bro, Marcus. Dude, how do you manage to never pay bills or do chores? Sarah seems like she'd be the type to call you out. Jake, it's all about timing, man. I've got her convinced I have these mental health episodes. She's so PC about that stuff. She never questions it. I just claim depression whenever there's work to be done or money to be paid. She eats it up every time. Marcus, that's genius. What if she catches on? Jake, she won't. These career-focused girls are so guilty about not being supportive enough. I just throw around terms like anxiety and depression, and she turns into a fucking nursemaid. I'm basically living rent-free with a personal chef and cleaning service. Plus, she makes good money, so I don't even need to work much. Marcus, what about when she wants to get serious? Marriage and all that. Jake, I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. For now, I'm enjoying the free ride. She even pays for my therapy sessions that I don't actually go to. I use that money for drinks with you guys. I sat there staring at the screen, my hands shaking. 2 years of my life. 2 years of sleepless nights worrying about his mental health, of covering his expenses, of sacrificing my own needs and career opportunities to support him through his struggles. All of it was a lie. I screenshotted the entire conversation and forwarded it to my personal email. Then I kept reading. There were more emails. Jake bragging to different friends about his foolproof system. Screenshots he'd sent them of my caring text messages, with laughing emojis attached. A group chat where he and 5 other guys shared strategies for managing girlfriends through fake mental health claims. One message from 3 months ago made me want to throw his laptop against the wall. Sarah wanted me to meet her parents today, but I played the social anxiety card. She's so predictable. Now I'm ordering Thai food on her credit card while she makes excuses to mommy and daddy. These feminist types are so easy to manipulate because they're terrified of seeming unsupportive. I photographed everything. Every email, every text, every cruel joke at my expense. My hands were trembling with rage, but my mind was crystal clear for the first time in months. Jake came home 3 hours later, slightly buzzed and in a great mood. "Hey, beautiful," he called out, dropping his keys on my counter. "How was your day? I'm feeling so much better after processing my emotions. Want to order some dinner and watch a movie?" I looked up from my laptop, where I was still documenting his lies. "How was therapy?" "Really productive," he lied smoothly. "Dr. Peterson thinks I'm making great progress with my anxiety management. These sessions are expensive, but they're so worth it for my mental health journey." Dr. Peterson, the therapist he wasn't actually seeing. The sessions I was paying for while he spent my money at sports bars. "That's wonderful, Jake," I said calmly. "I'm so proud of you for prioritizing your well-being." He beamed at me, completely oblivious to the fact that his entire charade was crumbling around him. "You're the best girlfriend ever, Sarah. I don't know what I'd do without your support." Speaking of support, I continued in the same pleasant tone, "I was thinking we should have a serious conversation about our future together. Maybe we could sit down tomorrow night and discuss some things." I watched his face carefully. Right on cue, I could see the wheels turning as he tried to figure out how to avoid this conversation. "Actually," he said, suddenly looking troubled, "I've been feeling really overwhelmed lately. I might be heading into another difficult period. Maybe we should wait until I'm in a better headspace for heavy discussions." "Of course," I smiled sweetly. "Your mental health comes first." But inside, I was already planning exactly how I was going to destroy him. That night, while Jake slept peacefully next to me, Completely confident in his manipulation tactics, I stayed up until 3 a.m. preparing for what would be the most satisfying conversation of my entire life. I created a PowerPoint presentation. Yes, a PowerPoint presentation, complete with charts, graphs, and screenshots of his own words. If Jake thought he was dating a pushover, he was about to meet the woman who had built her career on thorough research and devastating presentations. Tomorrow night, Jake was going to discover that his predictable girlfriend had been 10 steps ahead of him all along. The next evening, I set everything up like I was preparing for the most important business presentation of my life. I connected my laptop to the TV, dimmed the lights to create the perfect ambiance, and even prepared a glass of wine for myself. If Jake wanted to play games, I was going to show him what a professional looked like. "Jake, honey," I called sweetly from the living room. "Can you come here? I wanted to talk to you about something." He appeared from the kitchen, already looking slightly uncomfortable. I could practically see him calculating which mental health crisis would work best to escape this conversation. "Actually, Sarah," he started, putting on his worried expression, "I've been feeling pretty anxious today. Maybe we could—" "Oh, this won't take long," I interrupted, patting the couch beside me. "Actually, I think this conversation might really help with your anxiety. I've been doing some research on mental health patterns, and I have some insights that might interest you." He sat down reluctantly, probably thinking I'd found some self-help articles that would make me an even better caretaker. "So," I began, clicking to my first slide, "I wanted to show you something I've been working on. You know how analytical I am with my marketing work? Well, I decided to apply those same skills to understanding your mental health journey." The first slide appeared on the TV screen. Jake's mental health pattern analysis, a data-driven approach to understanding behavioral triggers. His face went slightly pale, but he tried to maintain his composure. "Sarah, what is this?" "This, my dear boyfriend, is a comprehensive analysis of your mental health episodes over the past 3 months. I thought it might help us identify patterns and triggers so I can support you better." I clicked to slide 2, a detailed calendar with every single one of his episodes marked in red, cross-referenced with bills, chores, and responsibilities. "Interesting observation number 1, I continued in my most professional presentation voice. Your mental health crises have a 100% correlation rate with avoiding responsibilities. That's actually statistically impossible for genuine mental health struggles, which typically follow more random patterns." Jake's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "Sarah, I don't understand what you're trying to—" "Oh, but wait, there's more." I clicked to the next slide, a bar graph showing the duration of his episodes. "Notice how your recovery time is inversely related to how quickly I take over your responsibilities? The faster I handle things for you, the faster you recover. It's almost like magic." "This is crazy," he stammered. "You're analyzing my mental health like it's a business project? I'm a data-driven person, Jake. You know this about me. Now here's where things get really fascinating." Click. Slide 4, screenshots of his emails with Marcus. The blood drained completely from his face as he saw his own words projected on my TV screen in 50-inch glory. "I've got her convinced I have these mental health episodes. She's so PC about that stuff. She never questions it." "Jake, would you like to read this aloud for me? I think your voice would really bring the words to life." "Sarah, I can explain." "Oh, there's no need to explain. Your emails are beautifully clear." I clicked again. Here's my personal favorite. "These career-focused girls are so guilty about not being supportive enough. I just throw around terms like anxiety and depression and she turns into a fucking nursemaid." He tried to stand up, but I held up my hand. "Please, Jake, we're not finished with the presentation. You always said you admired my thoroughness at work." Next slide, a pie chart. "This shows how you've spent the $3,847 I gave you for therapy sessions over the past 6 months. 73% on alcohol, 22% on entertainment, 5% on food delivery, 0% on actual therapy." "Sarah, please—" "But wait," I said with mock enthusiasm. "The data gets even better." I clicked to a slide showing screenshots of the group chat where he and his friends shared manipulation strategies. Jake's face turned green as he saw his own messages about managing girlfriends through fake mental health claims. "This is my favorite part," I said, reading directly from the screen. "Sarah wanted me to meet her parents today, but I played the social anxiety card. She's so predictable. Now I'm ordering Thai food on her credit card while she makes excuses to mommy and daddy." Jake finally found his voice. "You went through my private messages? You left your laptop open on my dining table, but I love how that's your concern right now. Not that you've been emotionally and financially abusing me for 2 years, but that I discovered it." I clicked to the final slide, conclusion and action items. Based on this comprehensive analysis, I read aloud like I was addressing a boardroom. "I've determined that you are not suffering from mental health issues. You are, however, suffering from a severe case of being a manipulative, lying parasite." Jake shot up from the couch. "This is insane! You can't just—" "Oh, but I can," and I did. "Now let's discuss the action items, shall we?" I stood up and walked to my kitchen counter where I'd laid out several documents. "First, here's an itemized invoice for $6.247. That covers 6 months of rent, utilities, groceries, your fake therapy sessions, and various expenses you've incurred while pretending to be mentally ill. Payment is due immediately." His jaw dropped. "You can't be serious." "Second," I continued, holding up another paper, "here's your 30-day notice to vacate my apartment. You have until November 30th to find new accommodations. Sarah, come on, we can work through this. Third, I've already sent copies of our conversation screenshots to Marcus, Tyler, Brandon, and the rest of your little manipulation support group. They're all very impressed with your foolproof systems, by the way. Jake's face turned red with rage. You had no right to do that. And finally, I said, picking up the last document, I've compiled everything into a detailed report that I'll be sharing with Dr. Peterson's office. You know, the therapist you're supposedly seeing? They were very interested to learn that someone has been impersonating their patient and potentially damaging their professional reputation. For the first time in 2 years, Jake was completely speechless. Now, I said, settling back onto my couch with my wine, would you like to tell me about any mental health episodes you might be experiencing right now? Because I'm feeling very understanding and supportive this evening. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before in his life. Who the hell are you? He whispered. I smiled sweetly and raised my glass in a toast. I'm the woman you should have never underestimated, Jake. But don't worry, I absolutely understand what you're going through. The silence that followed my toast lasted exactly 47 seconds. I know because I counted, savoring every moment of Jake's complete mental breakdown as he realized his comfortable life was crumbling around him. Then the explosion came. You fucking psycho! He screamed, his face turning purple with rage. You've been stalking me, going through my private conversations, building some insane conspiracy theory. This is obsessive behavior, Sarah. I took a slow sip of my wine, completely unmoved by his tantrum. Actually, this is analytical behavior. You know, the skill set that pays for this apartment you've been living in rent-free. I can't believe you'd violate my privacy like this. And now you're trying to extort money from me? That's illegal. What's illegal? I replied calmly, is fraud, which is what you've been committing by falsely claiming mental health issues to avoid financial responsibilities. I looked it up. Very interesting legal precedent, actually. Jake started pacing frantically around my living room, running his hands through his hair. For the first time in 2 years, he was experiencing genuine anxiety, and the irony wasn't lost on me. Okay, he said, his voice cracking slightly. Maybe I exaggerated some things, but you can't just kick me out. I have nowhere to go. That sounds like a you problem. Sarah, please, we can work this out. I'll start paying rent. I'll do more around the house. I'll even go to actual therapy. I watched him with the same detached interest I'd observe a bug under a microscope. Now you want to go to therapy? How convenient. Are you having a mental health episode about it? His phone started buzzing incessantly, text after text coming in. I smiled, knowing exactly what was happening. Ah, that would be your friends responding to the screenshots I sent them. Marcus seems particularly vocal tonight. Jake frantically grabbed his phone, his face growing paler as he read. They're calling me pathetic. Marcus says he can't believe I was stupid enough to put this stuff in writing. Well, you did describe yourself as having a foolproof system. Turns out it wasn't so foolproof after all. More texts poured in. I could see from his expressions that his manipulation support group was not being supportive at all. In fact, they seemed to be distancing themselves as quickly as possible. Brandon blocked me, Jake said in disbelief. Tyler says he never wants to see me again. They think I'm a sociopath. Interesting how quickly fair weather friends disappear when there are consequences, isn't it? My own phone buzzed with a call from my best friend Emma. I'd sent her a brief summary an hour earlier. Hey, Em, I answered, putting her on speaker. Sarah, oh my god, I just read your message. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over? Jake looked hopeful for a moment, probably thinking Emma would talk sense into me. I'm great, actually. Just having a productive conversation with Jake about his living situation. Good. I never liked him anyway. Something always seemed off. And honey, I'm an HR manager. What he did could actually qualify as financial abuse and fraud. You could press charges if you wanted to. Jake's eyes widened in horror. Press charges? Oh, I hadn't thought of that, I mused. Thanks for the suggestion, Em. Emma, this is crazy. Jake grabbed my phone. Sarah's being vindictive, and I calmly took my phone back. Jake's a little upset right now. He's going through so much. I'm trying to be understanding and supportive. Emma laughed. I see what you did there. Listen, if you need anything at all, call me. And Jake, you're a piece of shit. After I hung up, Jake tried a different approach. The fake tears came out. Sarah, baby, please. I know I messed up, but I do love you. We've had good times together. Doesn't that mean anything? Oh, we absolutely have had good times, I agreed. Usually right after I'd handled whatever responsibility you were avoiding. Your recovery periods were always so romantic. I can change. I swear on my mother's grave, I can change. Your mother isn't dead, Jake. She lives in Portland and posts on Facebook daily. He was getting desperate now, cycling through every manipulation tactic in his playbook. What if I paid you back in installments? I don't have $6,000. That's not my problem. You managed to spend it easily enough. Sarah, you're being unreasonable. No one just kicks their boyfriend out without warning. No warning? I pulled up my notes app. You've had 43 episodes in 6 months. Each one was a warning that you were testing my boundaries. I gave you 43 chances to be honest with me. My phone rang again. This time, it was Dr. Peterson's office returning my call. Ms. Chen, this is Patricia from Dr. Peterson's office. We received your concerning message about someone potentially impersonating our patient. Could you provide us with some details? Jake tried to grab the phone from me, but I stepped away. Absolutely. The person's name is Jake Morrison, and he's been claiming to attend weekly sessions with your office since May, while actually spending the session fees on entertainment. We have no patient by that name in our system, Patricia confirmed. This is very serious. We may need to involve our legal department. Jake collapsed onto my couch, finally understanding that this wasn't just a relationship argument anymore. This had real-world consequences. After I finished the call, Jake looked up at me with genuine fear in his eyes. Sarah, I'm begging you. I'll leave, I'll pay you back somehow, just please don't press charges. A record would ruin my career. What career? I asked sincerely. You haven't had consistent work in 8 months. I'll get a job, a real job. I'll prove to you that I can be responsible. You know what, Jake? I actually believe you will get a job now. Amazing how quickly people find motivation when their meal ticket disappears. He spent the next hour alternating between anger, bargaining, fake crying, and making promises. I watched it all with fascination, taking mental notes on his complete psychological breakdown. Around midnight, he finally seemed to accept reality. Fine, he said quietly. I'll be out by the end of the month, but I want you to know that you've destroyed my life over nothing. Over nothing? I repeated. Jake, you emotionally and financially abused me for 2 years. You mocked me to your friends. You treated me like a personal ATM and cleaning service while pretending to have mental health issues. That's not nothing. It wasn't that bad. I pulled up one more email on my phone and read it aloud. Sarah's so pathetic, she actually thanked me for letting her take care of me during my episodes. I could probably get her to propose to me if I had a big enough fake breakdown. The words hung in the air between us like a toxic cloud. Jake had the decency to look ashamed, probably for the first time in his life. I never sent that, he whispered. October 23rd, 11:47 p.m. To Marcus. Want me to show you the screenshot again? He didn't answer. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up and walking to my kitchen. You have 30 days to find somewhere else to live. You owe me $6, $247, and I expect payment arrangements within the week. And if I hear that you're trying this same scam with another woman, I'll make sure she knows exactly who you are. I opened my laptop and showed him my final creation, a detailed Google Doc titled Jake Morrison, A Complete Guide to His Manipulation Tactics, with screenshots, patterns, and warnings. This stays private as long as you leave quietly and pay your debts. But if you try to pull this shit with someone else, I shrugged. Well, let's just say I have excellent SEO skills from work. Jake stared at the document, finally understanding that he hadn't just lost a girlfriend and a place to live. He'd lost to someone who was 10 times smarter than he'd given her credit for. 3 months later, I'm sitting in my pristine apartment, sipping coffee at 7 a.m. before heading to my new job as senior marketing director. The promotion I got after my board presentation went so well. The same presentation Jake tried to sabotage with his fake panic attack. Jake moved out 2 days before his deadline, slinking away like a scolded dog with whatever belongings could fit in his beat-up Honda Civic. He managed to pay back $100 of what he owed me. Apparently, amazing how quickly someone can find employment when they can't fake mental health episodes to avoid job interviews. The remaining $4, $147, I wrote it off as tuition for the most valuable education I've ever received about recognizing manipulation tactics. My apartment feels like mine again. The gaming console is gone. The art supplies cluttering my dining table are gone. The piles of dirty dishes and constant mess are gone. But most importantly, the walking on eggshells around someone's fragile mental state is gone. I wake up every morning in my own space, free to make plans without worrying about triggering someone's convenient anxiety attack, free to spend my money on myself instead of supporting a grown man's lifestyle of leisure and lies. Emma came over last weekend to help me redecorate. You seem like yourself again, she said, watching me organize my bookshelf with genuine enthusiasm instead of the distracted energy I'd had for 2 years. I feel like myself again, I replied. I forgot how much mental space I was dedicating to managing someone else's fake emotions. The best part? My actual mental health improved dramatically once I removed the source of constant stress and manipulation from my life. Funny how that works. When you're not being gaslit daily about your own reality, you sleep better, work better, and feel better. I did hear through mutual acquaintances what happened to Jake after he left. Apparently, he tried to move in with his friend Tyler, claiming he needed temporary support during this difficult transition. Tyler, having received my screenshots of Jake's emails, told him to find a hotel. Jake's next attempt was with a woman he met on a dating app. According to Emma's friend who knows her, Jake pulled the same routine, convenient mental health episodes whenever responsibilities arose. Except this woman was a psychology graduate student who immediately recognized the patterns and kicked him out after 3 weeks. Word travels fast in our social circle now. Jake's reputation as a manipulative fraud has made the rounds, and his dating pool has essentially dried up. Turns out when you burn bridges by mocking people behind their backs, those bridges stay burned. He tried contacting me twice, once through a fake Instagram account, claiming he was genuinely struggling with depression now, and needed to talk to someone who understood his mental health journey. I blocked him immediately. The second attempt was through his mother, who called me asking if I knew why Jake had suddenly moved back home and seemed so upset about some misunderstanding with his ex-girlfriend. I politely explained that there had been no misunderstanding. Jake had systematically lied to and financially exploited me while mocking my kindness to his friends. His mother went quiet for a long moment, then said, "That explains so much about his behavior over the years. I'm sorry he put you through that, Sarah." Even his own mother wasn't surprised. That told me everything I needed to know about Jake's pattern of behavior. My dating life has improved dramatically too. I now recognize red flags immediately. The subtle testing of boundaries, the convenient timing of struggles, the attempts to make me feel guilty for having expectations. I've been seeing a wonderful man named David for 6 weeks now, and the difference is startling. David has actual struggles sometimes. Work stress, family issues, genuine bad days. But his response is to communicate openly, take responsibility for his emotions, and work through things like an adult. He doesn't use his difficulties as weapons to avoid responsibilities or manipulate my behavior. Last week, David had a legitimately rough day and felt too drained to cook dinner as planned. You know what he did? He said, "Hey Sarah, I know I offered to make dinner tonight, but I'm completely wiped out from work. Can we order takeout and I'll cook for you tomorrow instead?" Then he paid for the takeout and actually did cook the next night as promised. Revolutionary concept, actually dealing with problems instead of weaponizing them. I've also become something of an unofficial expert among my friends on recognizing emotional manipulation. 3 different women have reached out to me after hearing my story, describing eerily similar patterns in their own relationships. I've helped 2 of them document their partner's behavior and plan their exits. It's incredible how common this manipulation tactic is, and how many intelligent, caring women fall for it because we're socialized to be understanding and supportive of mental health struggles. These predators count on our compassion and use it against us. The most satisfying moment came 2 weeks ago when I ran into Jake at a coffee shop downtown. He looked terrible, unshaven, rumpled clothes, the general appearance of someone whose easy lifestyle had finally caught up with him. He saw me and actually tried to approach, probably hoping for some kind of reconciliation or at least civil conversation. "Sarah," he said hesitantly, "you look great. How have you been?" I looked at him with the same detached interest I'd reserve for a stranger asking for directions. "I'm doing wonderfully, thanks. I hope you're getting the help you need." His face went red. "Actually, I really have been struggling with depression lately. Everything that happened between us really affected my mental health." I nodded sympathetically. "That must be difficult. Have you considered seeing Dr. Peterson? I hear he's excellent." Jake's mouth fell open as he realized I was still 10 steps ahead of him. I walked away without another word, leaving him standing there processing the fact that even after everything, he still couldn't manipulate me. That evening, I called my mom and told her the whole story for the first time. "I'm proud of you," she said when I finished. "Not for the revenge, but for recognizing your own worth and refusing to accept less than you deserve." Today, I look back at those 2 years not with regret, but with gratitude. Jake taught me invaluable lessons about setting boundaries, recognizing manipulation, and trusting my instincts when something feels off. He also taught me that I'm far stronger and more resourceful than I ever knew. When pushed to my limit, I didn't crumble or compromise. I systematically dismantled his entire operation with the precision of a surgeon. Most importantly, he taught me what I will and won't tolerate in future relationships. Never again will someone use mental health as a weapon against my compassion. Never again will I enable someone's refusal to take responsibility for their own life. I absolutely understand what Jake was going through now. He was going through the consequences of his own choices and discovering that actions have repercussions even when you think you found the perfect victim. Some people might say I went too far with my documentation and presentation, but I believe that people who systematically manipulate and exploit others deserve to face the full consequences of their behavior. Jake wasn't a victim of mental health issues. He was a predator who used society's compassion for mental health struggles to abuse the people who cared about him. What do you think? Have you ever encountered someone who used mental health claims to manipulate situations in their favor? How did you handle it? Share your experiences in the comments. Sometimes the best way to protect others is by talking openly about these patterns. If this story resonates with you or helped you recognize similar behavior in your own life, let me know. Thanks for reading, and remember, trust your instincts when something feels off, even when someone tries to make you feel guilty for questioning them.